Hello there everyone and welcome to the Aviators channel. Today we'll be getting into the startup procedures for the 737-200 by FlyJSim, which is a payroll aircraft for XP11. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So as you can see, it's quite an old airplane from the 60s, very 60s. Lots of steam gauges, stuff like that. So just something you gotta get used to with a plane this old. So let's head up to our overhead panel and we'll go to our battery right here. So if you're familiar with 737s, they're pretty much all laid out the same way. So yeah, we'll start with our battery. Battery on, and directly from the battery we can go straight to the APU. No start pumps or fuel pumps needed for this, so directly to the APU start switch. There we go. Hold it there for a few seconds and the dial will start spinning. So the APU start of this airplane can be a little slow, so it goes up slowly and then it goes down and settles at about there. So in the green section. So I'll give it some time, and once the APU is on and running, we can head over to our other things. So yeah, this is a very good looking plane. I love flying it. I've been flying it actually a lot recently in X-Plane, so definitely recommend you go and purchase it from the X-Plane store. Alright. It climbs and it drops like that. Settles, and we can see we have APU gen. So we'll turn on the two buses right here. We can then turn on emergency lights. Now that the APU is online, we can turn on our electrical hydraulic pumps, galley power. You can now turn on any of the lights. Start off with the strobes. Yaw damper can go on right now. We'll move up here to our window heat, pitot heat. That all needs to go on. And from there, we can move over to our packs. Gas per fan, left pack, right pack, and then we want to turn on our APU bleed, of course. So now we have air conditioning throughout the airplane. Cool. So let's turn on no smoking, fasten seatbelt signs, and the plane is already powered up in that short of a time. So we can come over here, we can do our fire tests. Engine 1, Engine 2 and the APU. And also on the overhead panel, if you go all the way back here, you have a stall test and a flap test. So just something to know. Alright, so once we have all that, we can simply move over here to the center console, our FMC. We can set our terrain radar, and right now you can go ahead and enter all your data for whatever flight you're gonna do. So right here we're at Westchester, so we'll do Kilo Hotel Papa November. There we go. And you can fill all that in. No need to have to flip on any IRS switches or line switches. That's all automatic. So yeah. When setting your altitude for a flight, it's right here. Usually you would set it up here on the dashboard, but this old 737 is actually down here. So you want to set that, let's say 35,000 feet. And we'll come up here. You can set your landing altitude. And up here also, we will set our cruising altitude for the flight. And once the wheels get off the ground, once we're in the air, this switch needs to go to flight mode. And when you're on the ground, ground mode. Alright. So you're already looking good. Fuel pumps. And if you come over here to this section, we can determine all of our fuel and weight. So we can go and open some doors here. Cargo doors. So you can't actually fill the airplane with cargo and passengers without these doors being open. And you want to make sure that your center of gravity is okay. That this blue line is centered in between the red ones. So you have a good, stable airplane for flight. And as you can see, we have fuel already on board, left and right tank 50%. So if we want, we'll add some cargo down there. And just add as many passengers and weight and cargo as needed to keep the plane stable. So I'd say that's pretty centered. So just like that, we're good. And we can enter all of the rest of this data, our gross weight and everything, into the FMC if needed later on. So from the outside, you can see air stairs are out, APU is on, everything is looking pretty. And once we load up our cargo and passengers, we can go ahead and close these again, like so. And right here we have a little takeoff configuration tab. So if we want to do, let's say for takeoff flaps 10, you can set the bugs set for your speed and everything there, and it'll give you your V1 and rotation speeds here, V2, and it'll actually read it out for you orally if you have that setting on. So right here, callouts, I have that enabled. So on takeoff roll, a voice will say V1 rotate V2, so it's very helpful if you're not doing shared cockpit or something like that. Alright, and you can go through here and other details such as dirty, clean windows, like so. Alright, here's your checklist. You can go through this, but for the purpose of this video, I just want to give you a simple demonstration of how to fire it up quickly, so you can get into the air. I know if you just purchased this aircraft, you'll want to get into the air fast, and you can probably look over a checklist later, and you just want to fly it around a little bit and have fun. So that's the purpose of this video, just a basic demonstration of the startup procedures. Alright, so once everything's set in your FMC, and if you're going to do a full flight, radios are set, barometer set, everything is set, you are good for an engine start that fast. So like always, we'll turn off our left and right packs, gas per fan off. Okay, and once that's done, we can go ahead and come over to our engine start switches. Okay, so down here, engine 1 and 2 fuel feeds, so fuel injectors. So we'll come up here and go engine 1 set to ground, and you can see we have N2 on the rise for the number 1 engine. I usually like to wait till about 21% RPM, and we'll go ahead and feed some fuel in there. I just did a video on the MD-80 yesterday, so it's the same thing. They both use the JT8D engines, so I usually like to go about 21 into, and then I inject fuel. Alright, so there you go. Once these little warnings come off for the left side, you're good to start your right engine. Same thing, wait till 21%. There we go, we call it 21, feed fuel. And there we go. Alrighty, once both engines are on now, we can instantly come over here to our generator buses, flip these on, so we're transferring power from the engines We're not using APU power anymore, we're using engine generator power to power the entire airplane. Alright, so we don't need the APU anymore. We flip that off, and that will spool down. Anti-collision lights, logo lights can come on. And we can flip on our air conditioning packs. We don't want to use APU bleed, so standard packs, there you go. And right there, guys, you are pretty much set up for a push and taxi. Alright, so your overhead panel looks great. You want to make sure your trim wheel is neutral on takeoff on the green here, so just click and it'll go to takeoff mode for you. We have hydraulics since the engines are on, so you can set our flaps. I believe we put it to 10 degrees, so we set it flaps 10. And you want to pay attention to the flap dial here. You come out here, flaps are extended. Alright. Pretty loud airplane too, I must note that. Alright, so we have flaps 10. And let's say if we're about to take off, we want to arm our spoilers, or speed brakes rather. So you just click this little space right here. So click that, arm, click it off, and it's on its neutral position. And you can adjust that as you please, of course, if you need to slow down. And if you're doing a regular GPS flight, GPS route flight, you want to flip this little switch here. This is important. You want to take it off from nav to GPS, so it'll set your flight plan and everything correctly. So you're using the correct profile. Alright. So once you have that done, you're going to take off. We arm our speed brakes, flaps are set. We can arm the auto brake, set it to max for takeoff. Alright, and then once you're in the air, turn it off, disarm the speed brakes. Alright, so it works pretty much like any other 737 out there, just a very classic variant. And yeah, guys, that's that. It's a very simple tutorial on the startup procedures for this airplane. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya.